by, I don't really know who this guy called John, well, no. I do know who this guy called John Krafft is, now. But at the time, if you'd have read this pen paper in 1988, you wouldn't have known who John Krafft was. He was a nobody. What I do know is that Krafft worked for the IMVP project, the International Motor Vehicles Programme, which was a $5 million research effort between MIT, I think Sussex University, and there's somebody else as well. And it was a significant programme to understand how you made automotive firms productive. Bearing in mind the context, we're talking in the late 80s, certainly the vehicle manufacturers in Europe and America were being significantly affected negatively by the rise in Japan. So the Nissans, the Toyotas, and they were being severely challenged. And the programme was to try and understand how they did it. Is it better? How is it better? And then try and transplant it into the US, the big three, Ford, Chrysler, GM, as it was then, into the European firms. However, that programme was an MIT programme. And the link to the paper and the problem I have with it is that MIT, the business school, is the Sloan Management School. And the Sloan Management School publish a journal called Sloan Management Review. So immediately I'm thinking there's a degree of bias. Because you've got an MIT program that is very significant being published in a management review journal that is controlled by MIT. So immediately in my head, I'm not happy with this at all. So let's get into it. And first thing I do with papers is I just give them a quick scan. I'm looking for the major components. I'm looking for an introduction, a context, I'm looking for methodology, I'm looking for some results, I'm looking for conclusions, I'm looking at references, right? So I'm looking at the gross structure of the paper. So I just want to scan up and down. Okay, now what I'm not seeing is, I ain't seen any of that. I'm not seeing any of those anywhere in this paper. Okay, let's have a look at references. References not so good. 9 references, some are more footnotes than anything else. Okay, he's referencing Casamo. Now I know Casamo's done a lot of work on in the automotive industry, not on necessarily lean, but he's certainly looked at high performance Japanese organisations, particularly Nissan and Toyota, not just Toyota. Okay, so there's Casamo in there. Okay, but the list is not extensive. It's not what I would deem good paper material. Okay, it hasn't got many, and they're not widespread. They're not good quality. Okay, let's see what the paper actually says. Okay, blah blah blah. Oh, it's starting off a bit like a nursery rhyme or something, or some story to the kids. You know, it was a dark and windy night. On one side of the world, there is an automotive assembly, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't really say. Robots, okay, they're not using robots. What we're doing is comparing the plants. Okay. Not really setting up a context. Okay, we've got this efficient plant. Big 3. Okay, we've got Japan, North America, Europe. We're looking at productivity, we're looking at quality. It's not about an assembly plant's location. Oh, is it? Oh, no, sorry, quality performance. Okay, is more or less predetermined by an assembly plant's location. Okay, so there's something about being in Japan, being in North America, being in Europe. Let's have a look at what they're talking about. Okay, the search for high performance. Now, what I'd expect here is a definition of high performance. What is the definition of high performance? Because if you don't know what you're looking for, how the hell are you going to find it? So, let's have a look at what they define as high performance. MIT International Vehicles Programme, blah, blah, blah. Study began with a very simple goal: to assess the range of manufacturing performance, actually productivity performance. Okay, how are they defining productivity? Now, this is where it starts getting problematic. Several visits. How many visits? It's not specific enough. I want to know how many visits, I want to know when they were going, what they were doing. I want the complete explanation of their research activity in those plants. And it's not telling me that. They made several visits early on in the study to look at the range of productivity performance. Okay. But they haven't defined what they mean by productivity. Do they mean value add per vehicle? Do they mean the number of vehicles per person in the factory? What's their measure of productivity? There's lots of measures of it, but they're not telling me what they are. Other performance indicators, quality, flexibility. Again, what do they mean by quality? What do they mean by flexibility? They're saying, okay, we've got 50 plants. In most major automotive, well, most. Which bits haven't they visited? Where have they gone? How many? So if you're looking at Japan, Europe, North America, how many in North America? How many in Japan? How many in Europe? I'm not getting those figures. Okay, so we've got NUMMI mentioned, joint venture between General Motors and Toyota, small car production. Okay, small car production. Are the other plants making small cars? Is it a fair comparison that they're making? Again, they're not telling me. You know, you could be comparing a plant in Europe making big cars or sedans versus a small car plant. Japanese cars at that time tend to be quite small compared to bigger vehicles being made in Europe and North America. So it's not telling me whether it's a fair comparison, how they've made the comparison, how they've got round what you would term extraneous variables, other things that could have actually muddled the data or confused the data or given, you know, the causations that they're talking about. So I'm not getting that here. There's no definitions, it's a bit messy, it's not clear, and there isn't a clear signal about how they've actually gathered the data. What's the research instruments they've used? Is it questionnaires? Is it hard data? Is it data from the plant? Where's it come from? I've got none of that. So, really, I'm in no better position than I was when I started reading the paper. Okay. Now, oh God, now he's talking about Henry Ford. He's talking about Ford. Okay, Henry Ford. So let's go into, it's Back to the Future. Let's get the, let's get the car out and go back. River Rouge. Well, we're going back to the origins of the Model T. Highland Park, River Rouge. So he's basically claiming that TPS. Okay, TPS. So is this lean thing that he's talking about, is that TPS? Yes. Why suddenly have you gone from the title lean to TPS? Why? Why have you used a different word? Why suddenly you invoke something differently? Okay, now he's talking about the relationship between pure Fordism and the Toyota production system. So, well, he's actually saying here, original Fordism with a Japanese flavour. So, are we going back to something very old? You know, we're talking about 1988. Are we going back to, 1905 with a few bells and whistles on it? Who knows? Okay, way to think about production systems. We characterise production systems by examining some obvious characteristics. Really? Okay. Span of worker control. Okay. Inventory levels, size of repair areas. Why those? Why? They're not obvious. They're you can think of them, but I wouldn't say they're obvious. Is there another way of characterising production systems? Number of workers? I don't know. Is there other ways of doing it? Why those? I don't understand why those three. Again, there's no justification. Why? Why have you picked those measures? So they've used to characterise, quantify management policy. Hold on a minute. So we're using production characteristics to quantify management policies. We're using a set of measures that have got to do with to measure something else. Well, there's a lot of things between a production system and the way people manage it. And that is not a clear link. That would indicate dirty variables. There's something, gets in the way of the production system that you see and how management actually manage within it. So, I'm not happy about that. Again, it's inexactness. Various plants visited. Well, how many? Where? How many in Europe? How many in Japan? How many in North? Where? How long was the visit? When were the visits conducted? How long were the visits undertaken? Was it a day? Was it a week? How long did they spend there? An hour? A day? A month? Again, no data on that. So, as somebody trying to do science, I need one thing to be guaranteed, that I can pick up a paper, look at it and go, that's how they did it. And I can go away and reproduce it. With this, I can't do that, because I have no idea how they've gone about what they've gone how they've gone about what they're trying to actually do. I have no idea, even at this point. I'm getting into the paper now. So, span of worker control, low, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now he's mentioning scientific management. Oh, that's interesting. Scientific management was a buzzword. No, it wasn't. What?
Sorry to interrupt. Just I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Regarding the details that you said that instead of saying several visits, it's better to specify how many visits.
No, you have to. It's not a case of...
Yeah. So what this will add for the... If you say, for example, 10 visits in certain place, what this will add for the paper?
Well,
what's the value of this?
If I say he did 10 visits in North America and 1 visit in Europe, is that fair? Is it balanced? Is 10 enough? Has he proved that he's captured all the data in those 10 visits? Why not 12? Why not 15? Why not 5? There's the problem. Several is so inexact, it's beyond... You would never put that in a paper. And this makes me even more suspicious, that this is not a paper as such that proves something. It's more of a giant advertising slogan for something else. There's other reasons behind this. It's very inexact. And again, if you're trying to prove something, how valid is the measures that you've taken? If you've done 2 visits, how valid is that compared to 10 or 20? You're talking about a car plant. You're talking about a vast, enterprise. And actually, he doesn't even say that. What's the volumes? Doesn't tell me any volumes. So the way you build 100,000 cars is going to be different from how you build 250,000 cars. He doesn't tell me about the age of the plants. He doesn't talk about the age of the models. He doesn't give me any parameters other than these 3 parameters that he talks about, and then somehow that links to management. Somehow. Well, if you're going to measure management policies, why don't you use management tools to measure them? Why would you use another set of tools from somewhere else to try and measure that? I don't... There's a missing link or series of links. But it's the lack of preciseness, it's the lack of how do I know what he is telling me is true? And it's not just simply a fluke. How did they get around any bias? So, were their visits announced? So, their factory had enough time to sort of smarten themselves up. Are you, it's a bit like the Queen. The Queen walks around the world and she thinks the world smells of paint. Because everything's painted and new and you get in other words, is there a distorted reality? And that I need to know, because that's bias. You know, are these factories just showing the good side? Where's the bad side? And that's a balanced view. And it's not, at the moment, I'm not seeing balance. Okay, what we got here? Narrow defined tasks. Okay, so he's describing TPM or TPS. Well, okay. Span of control was quite low in original Ford systems, quite high in pre-Ford, Craftsman era, plants. It is somewhere in between in the TPS. So it's somewhere in between. Okay. So it's a sort of altered mass production system, but going towards more pre-Ford era of craftsmanship. Well, okay. Scientific management, a buzzword. Well, that actually is undoing. It's doing a disservice to scientific management. It wasn't a buzzword. It was very significant of its age. I mean, for God's sake, you know, Taylor went to Congress to, you know, to describe this thing that he'd discovered. I would not call it, therefore, a buzzword. Taylor is much more significant than that. And I don't know why he would use buzzword like that. Leagues of Industrial Arts, have a look what we got. Craftsman era, okay. Japanese translation of the Ford. So, okay, they're saying that TPS, or, yeah, they're saying that what Toyota's doing is a translation of the Ford system. Okay. That's interesting in itself. So, in my mind's eye, my next piece of research would be, let's go look at Ford. Let's follow the trail of breadcrumbs. So let's go on. Let's have a look. COGS, production systems. Well, that refers back to the more mechanistic view in scientific management. The workers were just, you know, cogs in a machine. So what we're saying is trained, variety of jobs, skills. Okay, so maybe I'll have to look at job design. So if I'm looking at lean, I need to look at job design, because they're mentioning more training, more jobs, more skills. So I'm assuming that they're getting their workers to do more things within the system. Now, that's interesting, because that as a metric is not actually in the metrics he said before. They're very simplistic metrics. Now, this is much more interesting. Why aren't you measuring that? You know, for instance, how many skills do the workers have? That can be quantified. How much training do they get on average? That can be quantified. But again, it's missing on this description of the production system versus the management system. So, what have we got? Numi, high ranking, blah, blah, blah. Again, okay, we've got Kusama here. What are we saying here? Worker span of control, combined with the basics of one out, great, second great leap. Toyota began implementing this concept. Early 1950s. I can go and check that. So we're looking at the origin of lean, or TPS in this case, 1950s. Well, that is coincident with TQM. So maybe there is an interrelationship between TQM and lean. So maybe I need to go and investigate that. I'm certainly going to need to read Michael Kusamo's article about the Toyota historic innovation, because obviously that's part of the innovation process that's taken place within Toyota. So I need to definitely get that article, which actually, funnily enough, is actually put in by the editor, not by the person who wrote. That's what the ED means. It's put in. Why was the editor putting that in? Just a point. What we got here? Part inventory levels on another. Inventory levels. Okay. Low inventory level. What do they mean by inventory? Do they mean work in progress? Is it in a specific place? Do they mean in goods in? Do they mean goods out? What do they mean? It's frustratingly inexact about what they mean. Do they mean average levels? What does low mean? What does high mean? I mean, you know, my definition of big is not your definition of big. Your definition of low is not. again, it is inexactness. What do they mean by these things? It's actually a very frustrating article. Okay, now they're mentioning just in time. So, okay then, labour for, what's this? Broken down delivery truck or strike by suppliers' labour force. Okay, just in case, now they're moving to this idea of just in time. So, just in time system manufacturing, blah blah. Toyota translation of what was pure Fordism at its best. So again, it reinforces that link with pure Fordism. So again, I need to go back and look at Henry Ford. This is telling me that actually this is not the future, it's the past, not what you think it is. Okay, so I need to go and look at that. So they're talking about just in time, efficiency, producing vehicles, minimal time lapses between beginning and completing production. Okay, so they're probably, if you interpret that, they're talking about work in progress. They're talking about the level of stock you've actually got in the production. Well, that depends on how you build the vehicle. So you need to know how you actually produce the vehicle. You know, you can design a system with lots of stations in there, and you can have lots of work in progress, or you can design that out, and you can have. So again, it's a bit of a misnomer to actually go for just work in progress, or this idea of stock. Okay. Large scale, highly efficient, constant flow production philosophy. Now, this is a bit confusing because it doesn't make sense when you look at something else. If you look at, the pen's not very good, I apologise. So you're just going to have to, Coventry, we really need to get this rubbish pen. It's not making a line, it's more sort of like rubbing things out. You've got production system, versus variety. Mark. So you've got high variety, you've got low variety, Now, normally what you've got is for project management systems, you've got bridges, you've got roads, you've got very low volume, so this is volume, and this is, so you've got very low volume but very high variety, so it's there, and then you've got the opposite of that, which is continuous flow, so oil refineries, things like that, big huge places that only make one thing, and what you normally got is I'm not going to be able to draw the line, but there's a continuum, and sort of in the middle there you've got like batch production and job shops, things like that. So mass production sort of sits back middle of the line, somewhere around there, Now, this is the confusion I've got. They're talking about continuous flow, so that's this bit. And what they're saying is they're bringing continuous flow into, or the ideas from continuous flow, into this thing that they're calling TPS, or lean, or Fordism, or whatever you want to call it in this paper. But in other parts of the article, they've talked about artisanship coming in. Now, which one is it? Is it the continuous stuff, or is it the other end? And it's not clear. And that makes a difference. Or is it some form of hybrid? Now, if you were doing further research, you'd go, well, I need to look at that area, and I need to look at that area, and I need to look at the characteristics, and then figure out what's actually gone into this, I'm assuming, a hybrid model. Hybrid of something that is basically Fordism. So, that would be another set of ideas running around in my head. Because, I mean, we're digging up, Model T, for God's sake. And this is a paper in 1988. I mean, we talk about a modern system, and we're still talking about Model Ts. Okay, let's go on. Table 1. Does he mention where Table 1's used? I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at Table 1. Okay. Production system characteristics, Work standard. Hold on a minute. He's added some stuff here. These are not the things that he started off with. He had 3. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, got 6. Now he's put teamwork in there. He's got buffers. Well, he had inventory, span of control, okay. Work standardisation. Where'd that come from? That's not been mentioned yet. He suddenly, okay, he's added some more measures. Fair enough. Low, high, narrow, small. Oh look, very small. Moderate. Large. What, compared to what? How small is very small? How small is very small compared to small? What's low? It's next door to useless. I have no idea what I have no idea what that means. He probably doesn't even know what. Why doesn't he give me numbers? Why is he not giving me numbers? Because they are eminently calculable. So why wouldn't an author give me a number? What's he hiding? Why would you say that? Yeah. Again, it doesn't make any sense. Because, okay, he doesn't tell me, well, certainly in the article so far, I have no idea what he means, well, what he means by teamwork. But what's he classifying as teamwork? How big are the teams? What does he mean by, I'm assuming he means the use of teams. Well, how is he differentiating between low and moderate? Is that the number of teams that you've got, or what is it? How is he measuring it? No idea. Repair area. Is that after production? Or is that during production? What do you mean, repair area? Small, again, it's, yeah, anyway. Okay, we've got figure 1. Okay, we've got level of adaptability. Rigid, flexible. Again, what does he mean by rigid? Buffered, lean. Okay, so, okay, now we're going to lean. We've dropped TPS, we've gone back to lean. So lean isn't buffered. Because that's what that says. So lean doesn't have any buffers. So, okay, that means it's continuous flow. Is it continuous flow? Hold on a minute. Surely it's got to be buffered because you've got cars going down a production plant, haven't you? Isn't that a buffer? Haven't you got stock, or are you delivering single pieces to this thing? That's continuous flow. So, what does he mean by... well, all things are buffered. Okay. Efficient scale of production. High level. What does he mean by that? How is he measured level of adaptability? What does that mean? What does he define as rigid and flexible? What is that based on workforce? Is that based on management? Is that based on the number of models that go down the production line? What's it based on? I have no idea. Production system. Okay, he's got. Let's have a look. Pure Fordism, TPS. See, this doesn't make any sense, right? You're saying it's very efficient. So you've got efficient scale of production. And okay, you've got, that's clearly efficient. That's clearly efficient. That's clearly low in terms of efficiency. What the bloody hell's this? It is and it's not. What is it, Schrodinger's cat, both alive and dead? It is both efficient and non-efficient. That doesn't make any sense. So if he's claiming it's efficient, why isn't it up there? Makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, yeah.
How does he describe it in table 1?
What?
What does he say for table 1?
Table 1 or figure 1? That's figure 1.
Like for table 1.
Other production system characters are listed. A close examination reveals a curious finding. Pure Fordism is in many ways more akin to... He's actually saying it's pure Fordism. is that this thing that you think of as new and wonderful and is actually not the triumph of the lean production system, it's the triumph of Henry Ford. So, I maybe have to change the title. Let's dig Henry up. He was right all along. You know, let's get the DeLorean out and go back to the future. Because it's almost saying that this thing you think is new and wonderful and shiny and now Tanisha Ono appears. So the guy who is mostly associated with the creation of TPS. And then the famous quote, you know, Henry Ford had been alive, he would have done the same thing with his production system. So what has Tanisha Ono done? Has ripped off Henry Ford. Is it Fordism, as you would do Fordism in an era where you've got robots and computers and stuff that Henry never had? So is this really new? Looks like it's not. And he goes back to the future. Something so new is so old. Okay. Okay, we've got the Second World War. Western roots, blah, blah, blah. What we got here? Buffered and lean production system. You've got a reference there. I need to look at that. The reasons for these selected terms are obvious. No, they're not obvious, mate. They really are not obvious. The production systems are most Western. Most! Oh, God, it's the inexact. How many? Most? What is that, 95%? 80%? What's most? It's moderate. It's big. It's inexactness. High inventory levels, buff against unexpected quality problems. Okay. Let's see if we can go on. Other pan species are truly more lean. We've got this lean again. We've got lean, we've got TPS, we've got Henry Ford being dug up. Quality problems quickly detected, bufferless assembly lines. Continuous flow production, utility worker absent from payroll, worker was absent without notice, the team would fill in. Okay, so you got that. I suppose this is what he's talking about in terms of flexibility. He's got the analogy of the world of finance. Right, lean production management policy presents higher risks. Ooh. So all is not good. High risk. Any hiccup, terrible phrase, any hiccup will stop production totally. But the potential gains are greater. So this is Henry Ford in Las Vegas. And he's betting everything on red. Or 21 or something. Okay, so there's risk associated with it. So much of the risk can be neutralised given an experienced, well-trained workforce. Hold on a minute. Now we've got suppliers. Ooh, they've suddenly made their appearance. So we've got to have a well-trained workforce, responsive suppliers, and good product design. Could that explain the reasons why we've got a difference between the plants around the world? Maybe one of the explanations could be that Toyota have just designed this for this system and that the others haven't. Therefore, is it a fair comparison? Okay, but now so that leads into lean. It has a connection with training, flexibility of workforce, suppliers, supply chains, and design. So we're starting to expand this universe of what lean actually is. We're starting to fit together the jigsaw pieces. But it's risky. Let's have a look what we got. Buffered plant, new meat. Let's have a look at new meat. Blah, blah, blah. Early in the study, GM NUMMI. Funnily enough, NUMMI doesn't exist anymore. The Californian assembly plant. Does anyone know what it is, what it's making now? It's still working, but it's not making Toyota or GM products.
Bicycles?
No. It's funny that you get this massive change that spurned on this thing called lean at NUMMI. And it's one of the centerpieces of this particular piece of research. Now it's making Teslas. the electric cars. And it's just like, is it deja vu all over again? Is that this was a portent of the future? It's almost like it's a weather vane, and maybe it's pointed to the fact that maybe petrol is dead. I don't know, but anyway, it may be just a coincidence, but I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences. What we got? Trish and Bufford, newbie team leaders, team. Okay, we've got teams. Western producers. I'm still not getting any numbers. I'm not getting any figures. Okay, technology. High technology. Technology is bad. Technology does not necessarily mean high performance. Okay, why? It could be because you're not very good at actually putting the technology in. You can't blame the technology. That's a bit brutal. It's, how you use it. You can't blame the gun for killing people. GM spent billions to learn that high technology. Okay, well, that's odd. Because a statement like that, where's the reference? Okay, it is symptomatic of the whole thing. They say a lot of very, very interesting and quite bold statements. No proof whatsoever. Now, I know of papers that talk about technology being the critical factor in manufacturing. So, is this and you've got to, to contradict a good weight of evidence, you've got to have a good weight of evidence to do that. Not supplied. Sound management principles, okay, which they haven't really explained. Assessing plant performance, now this should be interesting. Common sense, oh God. Common sense, I know one thing about common sense, it's not common. Least of all by academics, who are noted for their common sense. Let's have a look. What is he looked at? Standardised method of productivity and quality determination. Okay, what's he doing? Okay, he's taken Mercedes-Benz out and he's taken Jaguar out. What about Porsche? Why is Porsche not been taken out? Or is it? I don't know, because he doesn't actually tell me who he's looked at. He's telling me who he hasn't looked at, but not who are they. So are they Renault? What are they? I don't know. Peugeot, Trabant. We're talking 1988, and some of the stuff coming out of some of the European plants were a bit dodgy. He actually hasn't even defined what Europe is. He just said Europe. What? I mean the European Union? Or what's he talking about? Where does he say Europe? I don't know. Anyway. Combination of large sample size, comparable plant activities, working hours, capacity levels, utilisation, gross product corrections. We develop a quality measure. Okay. Why is he, hold on a minute, why is he using a quality measure using the 1987 J.D. Power's new car quality survey? That's for end users, that's for customers. Why is he using a customer survey to look at plant quality? Because the problem with that survey, it said, and it actually says it here, owner perceived defects. That's subjective. And some owners may be more critical than others. That is not a good basis of determining quality. I mean, okay, it might be very good in terms of determining marketing and maybe things you need to look at, but there's a big long leap between something that is subjective like that to an objective measure in the plant. It could be a lot of things going on there. So why would he use that? We design an assembly plant quality index. Why? Why don't you just use the quality data from the plant? Is there problems in terms of looking at different plants because they're using different... I don't know. Why would you do that? I don't understand why you would do that. Productivity performance, let's have a look. Okay, what we got here? Best, weighted average, worst. Okay, there's a spread. Pretty close in Japan, North America, USA, Europe's the worst. Could be that they've been around for a shorter period of time than these guys. I don't know, it depends on a lot of things that he hasn't explained. What have we got here? Ooh, we've got quality rearing its ugly head. Joanne Denning Crosby. Quality is free, which is actually Joseph Duran, not Denning or Crosby. So, we've got a number. A healthy degree of correlation, 0.6. Well, there's no such thing in statistics as healthy. Significant, I understand the word significant, and significant for an R value. You know what R is? Correlation of coefficient. That is Pearson's correlation coefficient. So they've looked at that data and looked at best fit line. For R values, with my invisible pen,
You can see it's okay.
can you see it? I don't know whether it'll be picked up on the video. Anyway, mate, we can use this as evidence for Ray and how rubbish everything is. R, oh God, equal, it should be, for significance, 0.8. What? What? Oh, is it indelible? Hang on, I've got to check because it's going to, otherwise, can I actually rub it off? I don't know. How do you get it open? How do you open it? Okay. I'm not sure about this. It's your fault. You'd be looking. Oh, that's. Unfortunately, it's cleaning the board. I'm just saying it's going to get black. You're looking for an R value of 0.8. That's what you're looking for. That would be significant. They're saying 0.6. Yeah. And looking at it, well, we've got this low productivity, high productivity. Okay, it's why is that demarcation zone? Why is 30 low? And I don't know. Why is that demarcation there? Why have they decided that is the point between high and low? High quality, low quality. 80. 80 what? This is 80 of the things that they've invented. Well, what? So 79 is high and 81 is low. Again, and looking at it, well, I'm not convinced. Okay, but this 0.6, not sure about 0.6. What else has he said? Okay, so he's just backing up what he's saying there. What have we got here? Clear differences. Well, not that clear. There are some relative leanness of production management policies. Hold on a minute. Now he's saying, hold on. I need to read that again. All hint at the importance of characteristics within the capability of management and governance to affect characteristics like relative lean. Oh God, now there's relative leanness. There's lean and there's relatively lean. Okay. Of the production management policies. Again, he's looking at the performance of the plant and saying that is somehow linked to the management policies. Well, if you want to look at management policies, look at management policies. Don't look at the plan. I mean, you focus on what you need to focus on. Which components best predict plant performance? What are we looking at here? We've got some figures. Okay. 99% level, 95% level. Japanese parents going to be variables, blah, blah, blah. What are we looking at here? What's he talking about? 95% level, average plant in our sample, 50% increase in mixed complexity. Again, he's putting all these measures that he's never mentioned before about judging from our sample, lean plants seem more capable of minimising this complexity penalty. So he's talking about, so I need to investigate this idea of a complexity paradox and complexity penalty. So If that is the case, then maybe what I'm saying is not because what they've done is designed out complexity. Now, if you therefore haven't designed out complexity, you've got a problem. Okay, let's move on. Production policy. Oh, more graph. Oh, Jesus, what the hell is this? Graph. Lean. Productive. Ow. Okay. Low. Hold on a minute. Productivity hours per vehicle. Hold on a minute. That was 60. Hold on a minute. That's 50. Hey? Where's the extra one come from? Why has he gone to 60 in that graph? Is there another data point that's missing? Oh, what's this? Management index. Fragile, robust. Oh, God. Okay, he's created another index. Fragile management, robust management. Again, I need to look at the definitions of this. Oh my giddy god, what's he? Oh, he's got a robot index now. What the hell does that mean? What's he defining as a... Why doesn't he just count robots? Why would you have an index? What the hell's the index? The paper goes on and on like this. It's just inexactness, and why are you inventing these measures? Why you I don't know. It's just confusing the hell out of me. Oh, implications. Let's see. Does that come out of what he's saying up there? Production management policy has tremendous effect on... Well, you haven't proved that. Lean plants are more capable of simultaneously achieving high levels of productivity. Okay. Inter-regional variation, blah, blah, blah. Culture. Okay. Now you've got culture coming. That wasn't mentioned before, unless it's Japan or Europe and whatever. Levels of plant technology seem to have little effect. Oh, he's backtracking a bit. Seem to have little effect on operating performance. Robot applications are not being used to accommodate mixed complexity in most plants in our survey. Okay, so the robots aren't really doing what they're supposed to be doing. Could be the way you're using the robots. Several implications for managers, support and management experience, high performance, blah, 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 blah. So, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to do TPS, or am I supposed to do Lean? Or am I supposed to be Henry Ford? I have no idea. I have no idea how to reproduce this work. I have absolutely no idea what the hell he's talking about. And it needs a lot more investigation to even understand what he's doing. And understand this data. And that's it. That's how you pull a paper apart. And that's done that in
48 minutes.
Yeah. I could go a bit further, but yeah, we've only got the hour. That's how you do it. All you got to do now is do that in every single paper you read, and read to that level.
Be 20% of this.
I didn't say it was easy. That's what you've got to do. Any comments, any questions?
Proficient.